Hello everyone and welcome back to the University. Today we have a slightly different for this channel kind of video. This is the arraignment of a man named Justin Todd, who is charged with assaulting a man at a bus stop. Todd approached the man, requested a drink, and when the man refused him, Todd is accused of several times punching the man in and about the head. So this is his arraignment, and it gets a bit elevated. Hope you enjoy.
And then Mr. Todd is next.
Mr. Todd is at Nisqually, courtroom number 4, and he is charged with assault in the 4th degree. He's been advised of the charge and his legal rights. He's waiving a formal reading. We are objecting to probable cause today, entering a plea of not guilty and asking that counsel be appointed. Public defense has been appointed on this Superior Court case, and he lets me know that he receives state assistance. And his mailing address and phone number have been provided to the court.
Thanks. All right. So, well, Mr. Todd, I will appoint counsel to represent you from Thurston County Public Defense. You'll have an attorney from Mr. Kale's office after today as well. And I'll enter a plea of not guilty to that allegation from May 30th of assault in the 4th degree. And then it looks like the state is looking for me to consider some release conditions. So I'm going to hear from the prosecutor just some base facts about whether there is or isn't probable cause. I'm going to make that decision and then make some decisions after that. Yes, so, Mr. Holcomb, what do you have on this?
Yes, Your Honor. On May 30th, 2024, Officer Moron was dispatched to a report of an assault in the 400 block of Cleveland Avenue Southeast in Tumwater within Thurston County. The officer arrived and located Christopher Brasco near the entrance to the Starbucks. Officer reported Christopher was visibly shaken and pointed to a male getting on a bus and stated he was the one who attacked him. Christopher said the suspect, Justin Todd, approached him and asked for a drink. Christopher stated he refused, and Justin began to strike him with a closed fist several times in the head. Christopher's shirt's neck was stretched out, which he said happened during the struggle. The officer reported that Christopher had redness around the head and neck. Justin was then contacted and arrested.
And so he was getting on the bus, and law enforcement went on the bus and found him there.
I was already on the bus.
And Slow down, Mr. Todd. I have to ask the prosecutor to establish this. You get to stay quiet. So, Mr. Holcomb, how there's a gap there that I just need filled in if I can understand. He was identified apparently. The alleged victim said that's the guy, and then what happened?
Christopher was visibly, I'm looking at the report now, and pointed to a male getting on the bus, coach 424 Route 13, and stated he was the one who attacked him. So he was in the process of getting on, the defendant was in the process of getting onto the bus.
And then what happened?
And then the officer, Sergeant Candice arrived moments later before the bus left. Sergeant Candice and the officer approached the bus as the suspect exited the rear doors. The suspect, identified as Justin Todd, was told he was being arrested, was placed in handcuffs. So what's the gap I need to fill in here?
I think you did, but Mr. Kale, anything that I should be paying attention to that I'm not?
So the reporting party who called the physical disturbance, as it's described in the police report between two males, reported that identified the males based on the clothing that they were wearing, saying that one appeared to be the victim, the other appeared to be the aggressor. There's no mention in the police report about what clothing Mr. Todd was wearing, what clothing Mr. Brasco was wearing, and so the reporting party's determination of who was who and who was at fault here isn't. There's nothing to support that in the police report.
what I'm understanding, if I heard it correctly from Mr. Holcomb, is that the person who's alleged to have been harmed identified Mr. Todd, that's the guy, and he was thereafter arrested from the bus as he went out the back of the bus. That's what I understand, Mr. Holcomb?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so the third party, it may be useful later or never or what, but it sounds like the aggrieved party identified Mr. Todd. So I find that there's sufficient evidence here for probable cause to consider setting release conditions, not necessarily, we're not finding you guilty here today, Mr. Todd, but we're considering conditions of release. And so let me hear from the lawyers on that. Mr. Holcomb?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant is alleged to have struck a random victim at a bus stop in the head several times because the victim refused to give him a drink. The defendant has a history of violent offenses and 3 active warrants. The state is asking for $10,000 bond, and if the defendant is released, to be evaluated by a DCR, and for the defendant to abide by the no contact order for the protected party and to commit no new law violations.
Provided a anti-harassment order concerning a Christopher George Brasco and to stay 1,000 feet away from him, his school, his home, his work, wherever he knows he is. All right.
Yes, Your
Mr. Kale?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask the court to release Mr. Todd on his personal recognizance. He is currently on pretrial services supervision on his Superior Court case. He tells me that he's been reporting, and I don't see any evidence that that's not the case. And I would also, going back to the reporting party statement, once again, who the aggressor was, who the alleged victim was. While the police asked one person involved in an altercation what happened, they apparently didn't ask the other person who was involved. They didn't follow up with that reporting party. So I think there's a legitimate question as to the nature of the altercation described here. And then even getting past that, the reporting party doesn't indicate that they saw the beginning of the altercation. They could have seen the middle of the altercation. They could have come in the middle of the altercation and misunderstood what was happening. And once again, the police only talked to one person about what happened. And so they only got one person's side of the story. Obviously, that person is not going to say, yeah, I assaulted this person. Now, I understand that this might not be enough to not find probable cause, but I think there are some legitimate questions here about what actually happened. And Mr. Todd is presumed to be innocent until he's proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, or until he enters a plea of guilty. He's not entering a plea of guilty today.
And I'm not being held on the other 2 warrants.
So, slow down, sir. I'm going to let your attorney do the work here. So he can protect your rights here.
Your Honor.
All right. So, yeah.
I also want to address the warrants. So 2 of those are for Olympia Municipal. He's currently at Nisqually, but there's no action taken on that, even though, and he's not being held on that at Nisqually, which is, I'm not sure what's going on there, because Olympia, it's my understanding that they also use Nisqually as their.
And I'm already out on $500 bail. I don't have any more money.
And that's the other thing, Your Honor. Mr. Todd tells me that he does not have any more money to bail out. So if the court imposes any bail, then Mr. Todd will be in custody until this case resolves.
I got jobs to be. I got to be working.
Just looking at Olympia's docket here from 2022, and then there hasn't really been anything there since then. I don't know. I can't answer for Nisqually, and I know they use Nisqually, and I don't know why there isn't a hearing set or something, or maybe it's just not in their docket yet for Olympia. So it's the deal. So Mr. Todd, I'm going to have you post some bond and make sure you come back, because there are warrants for your arrest that go back years. And you have,
I've been released.
I'm not asking you to argue with me, sir. I'm making a decision. And so you may
I don't have fucking bail money, man.
Yeah,
You guys got me. I mean, I'm already out on 500, man.
Yeah, we can mute Mr. Todd. I don't think he's going to help himself, and Mr. Kale can't help him while he's in that state. So, Mr. Todd, just setting $1,000 cash or bond. I understand you disagree. I find that you do pose a risk to the community. You got a history of violent crimes. This is alleged to be one. Warrants in effect. And I can't hear you because I'm trying to protect you from yourself. That's all for today, Mr. Todd. Right. We'll set that quickly in 2 weeks. Appointed Thurston County Public Defense. The other case. What time? So I am signing this order that protects Mr. Brasco. Couldn't really do it with Mr. Todd. He got too upset through his chair, and now they've had to deal with him, unfortunately, more aggressively than had been hoped. So he's pretty much made himself unavailable to the court. But I'm signing the order to protect Mr. Brasco, and that'll be given to him, and probably something to go over with him when he's calmed down.
So just to be clear, Your Honor, is that going to be given to him by jail staff?
That's how it works.
Okay.